Pad 5290 coming to you with 21st Century Railfan Fun that finally returns after an extended period of absence, so I do apologize. Hope everyone's doing great. I turned 27 today, so it has been a very special day, and it has actually been a really good day. So, we are here, and we're getting ready to have some fun with some 21st Century Railfan fun, so we can talk about railfanning in general if you're getting started with the hobby, and also we can talk about some of the equipment that you guys may want to use and things like that. So we are ready and raring to go. So guys, hop on over and we are ready to rock and roll. So leave a comment in the chat. Let me know that you're here, and we'll go from there. Trayman 1993, what's going on, man? Good to see you, Matt. Birthday's been great. It's been a really nice day. Been able to spend some time with family and close friends. And I have been very fortunate with that today and every day. Hey, Zoe, what's going on? How are you? Just the camera a little bit. And so go ahead and hop on, guys, and we can give everybody a few minutes so then we can get started. And let me go and fill up with some water here in my cup, and I'll be right back. So, let me go ahead and get some stuff in my cup here, and we'll be ready to rock now. Let's see. So I've got my water, and I also have my Gatorade on the side. So I have a couple of different beverages tonight. So we'll give everybody a few minutes, and then we can get started with some railfan stuff. With 21st Century Railfan Fun, I know this has not been a stream that is done very often, but you talk about railfan, maybe some equipment you use and everything like that. So definitely want to have some fun with this. Ethan Connick, I haven't seen in a while. What's going on, man? Richard Railfan, that's Bryce Wolf. What's up, man? What's up, man? Now we got some guys coming on here, so in just about a minute or so we can get started. With this stream, you can ask railfan questions. You can ask about the equipment that you're using, maybe some techniques that you may want to ask about, maybe even some ways you share your videos and things like that. You're more than welcome to ask questions, because I may be able to answer something, and maybe somebody in the group might be able to answer. So you can also ask me about different shots, what equipment I use and how I go about doing this stuff. So it's pretty well versed with this. So you're welcome to ask the questions. And see, it's 8:25 Eastern time. We're going to go ahead and give about another minute, and we'll get started. So. Yes, greetings from Sanford, North Carolina. I know exactly where you're at, too. I know Sanford, North Carolina very well. And greetings from Virginia, I should say, in returns to that. So, well, guess you got to have a lid open. Let's have a little sip. So, I have not thought about my snack of choice. So that may be something a little bit later. So, all right, we can go ahead and get rolling here. So you guys can ask away your railfan questions, and maybe some maybe some tips you might like to give. LaShonda West, how are you? And happy birthday to Voices from Maryville. Thank you very much. Matt asked a question. Can I ask what kind of breed you use for railfan? Don't know if I'm asking this right. Oh, it's okay, buddy. I just use a regular scanner for mine. I just use one just enough. It's kind of a basic scanner to kind of listen. So I like to sit back and just listen to it. I believe mine is a I don't remember the brand, but it's kind of a cool brand. The one I have is pretty durable. A lot of people say, is it pretty good? Should I have something that's durable? Yeah, because eventually a scanner is going to be dropped, and you want to have something that's pretty good. And happy birthday there. So yes, we do have some birthdays out here. So happy birthday to anybody who had a birthday today and every day. I had several friends of mine who had birthdays today, as well as me, and I've had some people's that was yesterday's as well. Richmond Railfan asks, speaking of, what is the best setting for shooting at night? And does the actual lighting, not the flash of the camera, affect how your picture will come out when using an external flash? To answer Bryce's question, let me think on that. And Matt, yes, you can ask about locomotives as well, because railfan is all about the equipment, how to take pictures, and even the locomotives as well. So that's part of 21st Century Railfan Funds. You ask about the equipment for railfan and how to do different shots like Bryce just asked, and even locomotives as well. So that's all part of the same thing. Virginia Railfan Productions, that's Caleb. What's up, man? The best setting for shooting at night, let me think about that a second. Now, what equipment are you actually using, Bryce? Are you using, like, your cell phone? Are you using external stuff? You can get external flashes, like with a big camera, and you can go all off at the same time. And one of my friends, Johnny, actually has a really cool setup for nighttime stuff. One of the simple setups I do for nighttime, it may sound kind of inexpensive, but you can simply use the headlights on your vehicle for the ones of you who drive. You can sometimes do the high beam setting, and boom, you got your lights. And sometimes there's a shot that I took last fall. I did not have to use a flash. I actually shot it using the street light that was above, and I was actually able to do a really crisp shot, and it was nice and bright with just the street light, and it took a really nice picture of the side of the locomotive. And I just used my phone, like I'm using to record the streams now and everything. I just use my cell phone. So Steve Casey is up there. What's up, man? What's going on, Steve? And VRP says, Virginia Railfan Productions says, I prefer using a Canon doing long exposures. That's my opinion. Yes, Canon is good. I've got a Canon at home that I use for special projects, especially when a locomotive is sitting still. So that's one of the things I like to do, is use that for projects that I know the locomotive is going to be still, and I can be able to go around it. It says, Pat, I use a T7 Rebel. That's a good camera. And for my flash, I have a Vivitar external flash. I've heard of Vivitar. They're pretty good. I believe I have a T4. I have a T4 Rebel is what I have. And the T4s are pretty good. I've seen a T5 and a T6 Rebel and a T7. To me, it's basically the same camera with just a few small modifications, and that's it. So, yeah. But those are really good too. Canon is good for quality. Sony is really good for quality too. But if it's between them Canon or Sony, both of them take very, very good quality in my opinion. I really can't tell the difference between Canon and Sony. They're both very good companies, and they're very good for their electronics. And Ethan says, I'm sorry for disrupting the railfan discussion. No worries. Don't worry about it. But do you know where Chatham County, North Carolina is? That's where Stanford County is. Sanford County is. Sanford is in Lee County. I've heard of Lee County. I've heard of it. Um, I know where it's at. I've just never been there. Um, so it's great to see everybody up here. I'd just like to welcome those of you who are just now joining us. Um, we're having some fun with some 21st century railfan stuff. So if you got locomotive questions, railfan equipment questions, you can drop them down there. You can ask away, guys. So it's 8:30 here, and we'll probably continue this for a little bit. So we've got several people on now. So guys, let's keep this going. If the it looks like to me the turnout is pretty good, we will keep this going. So please ask away. And Zoe, thank you for the birthday wishes. So it's been a really good day, like I said earlier. Spent the day with family and close friends, and that's what I really wanted. Sometimes it's good just to be quiet. Yeah. So let me get up for a second. I got to take care of something real quick. Ask your questions away real quick. I'm going to take care of something really quick, and I'll be right back. Favorite locomotive catch during rail fanning, anything EMD. So keep asking the questions, guys. Let me step out real quick. I'll be right back. So keep asking the questions. Sorry about that, guys. I had to make a restroom stop really quick, so I apologize on that. Looking at the comments since I was in the restroom, our model questions are allowed here. Sorry, but just wondering. I'm glad you guys are asking questions, and I think this is great. This is for more of the big stuff. Model Railroad Mondays is more appropriate for that, but I actually will be doing something else really, another Model Railroad Mondays here really soon, so that's one that you'll definitely have to look in for. But this one's more for the big trains and also for the rail fan side, because I've decided to do two streams. One for model railroading specifically, and one for the big trains. So you can definitely ask your questions on the big trains. Thoughts on the 1996 to 2000 21st century limited train? If you're talking about the model, I will answer the question now, but that was pretty. It was a pretty model, but stay tuned for Model Railroad Mondays when I do that stream. That's one that's appropriate for that. Steve asked me, what railroad museum do you plan on visit if you have the time? Well, I've been fortunate to visit a lot of museums. I have visited the Virginia Museum of Transportation, the North Carolina Transportation Museum, the Western Maryland Scenic Railroad. I have visited Strasbourg. I'm trying to think of where all the other ones that I've visited. The Tennessee Valley River Museum, I have visited that one. And I have also visited the Pikes Peak Railroad, which is the Cog Railroad. I have done that as well. But out of the ones that I have visited, I would really like to see. I've also done the Baltimore, the B&O Railroad Museum as well up in Baltimore. I have definitely visited that one, but I would love to do the. I'm trying to think of what other ones. Trying to think here. I would not mind seeing the one. I would not mind seeing the New Hope and Ivyland Railroad. I've been really interested in that one. I've been interested in that one and also the Illinois Railroad Museum in Union, Illinois. They're the two that I would really love to see. Any location you want to rail fan in the future, this is Trainman 1993, like going out west or something. Well, I would not mind going to Kentucky and visiting the old Southern out that way, which I believe was something called the Rat Hole. That's a really busy section on the old Southern that I would like to take a look at. Bryce just reminded me, man, stop fly. I feel like it's just, I remember your 24th and we were all tired catching train after train. Yes, that was a really good day. And that's been 3 years ago. Good Lord. Time has flown too. And Caleb says, I prefer visiting the VTM in Roanoke. Yeah, that's a really cool place. They have the SD45, the 1776, and the 1218 is out there too, as well as so many other locomotives. Any railroad museum you like in Ohio? Now, Matt, you're going to have to help me with this now. Which ones are in Ohio? I would like to know which ones are there. And Caleb says, I visited there in 2020. Very cool. So, yeah, I've looked at a lot of museums over time and also studied a lot about them and just curious on, what else is out there. One that has actually my favorite locomotive on the Alco side is the Railroad Museum in Campo, California. They have the Alco MRS-1 number 2104, which was used in There Goes a Train. As a matter of fact, that engine is being restored from what I have been following on the internet, that they are actually restoring that locomotive, and that thing has a beautiful RS5T horn, and I love an Alco MRS-1. The 2104 was built for the United States Air Force, and they pulled the excursions in Campo throughout the 90s and early 2000s, so it's been out of service for about 20 years. But they're finally getting to it and trying to keep the memories alive on that locomotive there. Have you ever been to the museum in Wilmington, the Wilmington Railroad Museum in Wilmington, North Carolina? Yes, I have, and that's one that I forgot I had visited. That's a really cool museum. Matt just asked Trainman 1983 another question. Can I ask him thoughts on the WRRS mechanical bells? And to answer your question, do you like the Mad River Museum in Bellevue? I know where Bellevue's at because they got the yard over there for NS. I have heard of that museum, and yes, you can ask about the bells. I prefer mechanical bells over anything, and you can even ask about different signals that were used, like the color position signals, the searchlight signals, or the target signals, the safe trans signals, any of the signals that were used. You are very much welcome to ask about that too. And do you like to visit someday? I would. I would definitely like to visit that. I definitely would. So keep asking the questions, guys. We're about 20 minutes in, and let me tell you something. This has been good. RDG Rails, it's Andrews Bishop. What's up, man? How are you? Doing some railfan fun tonight. We're actually doing 21st century railfan fun tonight. So ask your railfan questions. It could be Railfan itself, museums, anything. Anything related to big trains, you can ask. Thoughts on the B&O CPL signals, and hello to RDG Rails. Thank you. Thanks, Matt. And yeah, that was a really cool aspect for the B&O CPLs. And the PRRs and the NNWs were almost identical. I prefer the NNW CPLs. Pat, you got a railfan in the Roanoke District. If you decide to go out there, there's a video by Washington District Railfan Fund, railfan in the Roanoke District. I have railfan Roanoke, but it's been almost 10 years since I've done it. That's a plan, hopefully later on down the road. I have done it. I've did it in 2014 was my last time I was there, and I also did it back in about 2007, maybe 2006. So it has been a long time. Favorite Class 2 railroad, which is a regional railroad. Florida East Coast is really cool. Montana Rail Link is cool. And even this other railroad that's not mentioned very often, Iowa Interstate. So, and Bryce just says, I would like to explore the Richmond District past Burkeville. Just had a little glitch there real quick. Apologize for the glitch there. But he says, I would like to explore the Richmond District past Burkeville to Keysville. There's definitely a lot of old Southern artifacts down along the now abandoned line. Yes, I would love to see that too. Favorite Class 2 for RDG Rails is RBMN. Yes, I'm familiar with them too. Florida East Coast, because it's what it is, and I love their paint schemes, as well as the Montana Railing, because they're all EMD. Iowa Interstate, I believe, has mostly... No, I think they have a mix of GE and EMD. So that's definitely a plus. Favorite USS Steel Railroad? Ooh. For example, Bessemer and Lake Erie, that's actually my favorite one. And so is DMIR, because they were they did ore. I think they transported a lot of iron ore, and they were absorbed into CN. Bessemer and Lake Erie absorbed into CN. RBMN has EMD for days on the freights. Yes, yes. Oops, I forgot it's not a band. It's BB Trackage. Yes, I know what trackage it is there, because Buckingham Branch has interchange points in Burkeville. So yeah, you're right there. I know exactly what you're talking about. MRL's essential workers and veterans ACEs are very stunning. Agreed. They did a good job with those engines. And even the KCS veterans unit is really pretty, the 4006. A lot of good stuff out there by these railroads. And 611 is going back to VMT in Roanoke. I'm really thrilled about that, and that's why I was asking if you have a railfan in the Roanoke District. Hey, I understand that. I'm glad that she's coming home, but I'm just kind of wondering what they're going to do next with it. I really hope they keep it running, because keeping that thing running would be fantastic. I actually got to see it in operation a few years ago. I was able to see it. And let me tell you something, I was very pleased with it. And I had never seen it in operation until that year. It's been 4 years ago when I last saw it in operation. So it's definitely cool. What do you like about the CN Heritage units? Now, which ones, Matt? Are you talking about the ones that are true Heritage units, or the ones that they recently painted? And about FEC, you mentioned earlier, I saw the ES44C back in 2021. Yes, those look pretty. Those look really pretty. I was surprised they bought GEs. I'm planning on one last visit for the 611. Just don't know when. Hey, get it, man. Get it. Because let me tell you something. Trying to get that baby, I'd go for it. You say Wisconsin Central. Are you talking about the ones that they painted, like the GEs, or are you talking about the true heritages that they have, like the ex-GTW equipment, ex-Wisconsin Central equipment, ex-Illinois Central equipment that's all in their original colors? Now, I can give you opinions on the actual heritages that they actually have, which is the actual locomotives that are actually in the real colors. I'm glad to see CN preserves their history, and anything that is original, I love it to death. The Gevos that they did look okay, but they already have heritage units. So I'm kind of curious on why CN went down. I mean, I'm glad CN did them, don't misunderstand. But I love seeing the actual BC Rail equipment, the Illinois Central equipment, the Wisconsin Central equipment, and even Bessemer and Lake Erie, the EJ and E Road, the Elite Juliet and Eastern, and GTW, the last GTW SD40-2 is in GTW colors. The last Wisconsin Central EMD is a GV40-2. It is in Wisconsin Central colors. And even the IC SD70s, they are in IC paint. The 1000, the IC 1000 is in IC paint, and I have seen the unit in real life. So, thoughts on the 5AT Advanced Technology steam locomotive? I have never heard of it. If you could explain a little bit more, that would be great. I'd like to learn more. I'm glad I got to see it years ago back up at the old Petersburg station along the old line. I know what you're talking about. I did have a camera, but at the time I have a picture of me in front. It's a huge 70-inch wheels. Yes, that thing is huge, buddy. That thing's huge. And RDG Rails comes in as one of the units from LTEX, Larry's Truck and Electric, I went to last year. Was a built. It was a DMIR SD18. That's a locomotive nobody mentions anymore. Then rebuilt to an SDM modeled and Virginia Railfan Productions. I'll see what I can do about 61140. Hey, that's awesome, guys. Thoughts on CSX doing the heritage units, if you don't mind me asking? And Matt said, sorry. Guys, don't be sorry for asking questions. You're welcome to ask as many questions as you want. There is no limit. You can ask as many questions as you want. With them doing heritage units, I'm actually glad they're doing it. And I'm really glad Waycross just finished that 1827. It's a really cool paint job. I mean, everybody has their own opinions, and I respect it. But one of the things I like about it is the way they did the paint, especially on the side of the cab, where they have the corporate image on the front, and they do that diagonal fade with the history pulling behind the locomotive. I really think that was a very awesome touch there by CSX's Waycross employees. I really think they did an awesome job, and I'm really glad to see that they're doing it. And I'm glad Waycross did the work on that, because they do a good job over there. Waycross is my favorite shop on CSX. I've always liked Waycross for some reason. It's a huge place, and let me tell you, that's a massive operation. That's the old ACL shops. Cumberland is the old B&O shop, and I believe, and Huntington is the old C&O shops. It says that the 5ATE Advanced Technology Equipment was a cabin design conceived by British designer David Wardale. Hey, that's very cool, man. And Richard says, I went so fast the tracks we just made it. I gotta go fast, LOL. Hey, I understand. Gotta go, man. Gotta go get those trains. So, favorite thing about the Railroad Museum of Pennsylvania. I love it. And I love Horseshoe Curve, and I also love Strasburg. Strasburg I did when I was a little boy, and when we went back up in 2017, I went out and just railfan the railroad a little bit and did the museum. It's a really nice place, but I love Horseshoe Curve, buddy. Love it. So, what's your opinion about the restoration of the Southern Railway 722? Let's go. It's all I can say is let's go. I'm really excited about that. Great Smoky Mountains Railroad, I believe, is doing that one. If anybody can confirm that, let me know. Project started, going back to Ethan's comment, the project started in February of 2009, but it was suspended in March 2012 due to lack of support, which I understand. Thoughts on the Harry Potter Amtrak ACS 64? I'm kind of surprised Amtrak did that, but at the same time, it looks kind of cool. I only saw one Harry Potter movie, and that was Order of the Phoenix. I watched it with a friend of mine. It was pretty good. Would love to visit Horseshoe Curve one day. Oh, that's off the chain action. You could see probably at least 30-some trains a day through there. That's a place that never sleeps. That's a place that never sleeps. So keep on asking the questions, guys. Rumors about 722 are true. It was posted on their official page. Thank you. Little backstory on one of the steam engines at the Museum of PA. 520 had a boiler explosion and lived through that. Holy smokes. Favorite fallen fire railroad on coal open top hoppers like any railroad like NS. Conrail has to be Conrail. You can do more research on it if you want. Thank you very much. I will definitely do that, man. And Steve just told Bryce, you will love it. It's awesome. I plan to return there again this summer. Let's go, man. That's great. So let me go ahead and get the phone on charge real quick. And we'll definitely continue here in just a moment. Dun, 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 dun. Ethan, I'll get to you in just a second. Let me go ahead and hook this up real quick. So we good? And in the next stream, let me know what you find. I'll definitely do it in the next 21st Century Railfan stream. And 2 of the crew members died on the 520, I believe, from what I read. Oh, man, that's sad. Tammy's on. Happy birthday, buddy. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. As I mentioned earlier, today was a really good day. I spent the day with family and spent some time with close friends. I went out to dinner with my friends tonight, so that's always a plus. And Italian was on the dinner menu. Had pizza tonight, and it was actually brick oven pizza, and it was really good. Got a 14-inch pizza from the restaurant. I only ate 2 slices because the slices are big, and they're really, really good. So it's a family-owned business, and like I say, you know, family businesses, I always love seeing them. So, thoughts on the Age of Steam Roundhouse? That's a cool place. I definitely want to visit that one day, and also visiting Cass, West Virginia. I got a friend of mine I think is going to visit here real soon. So, I'm waiting to hear what's up. Howard Grady, Mom and Dad, we're hanging in there. We're hanging in there. Granny's hanging in there. Just having a little hard time right now. But she was able to come today, have breakfast with us. We had a real good breakfast this morning. Dad's pretty good, and Mom's hanging in there too. So we've all continued to be really blessed right now. I'm thinking about visiting Woodburn, Pennsylvania, near the Philly to see CSX, NS, and SEPTA. Yes, Woodburn, Pennsylvania. Train Act Productions has done a bunch of that, especially on the CSX Trenton line, as well as some other rail fans as well. That's a pretty good spot. Andrew responded to Bryce there. A spot I highly suggest for you is Crescent, PA. Yes, I hear Crescent is really good. And Tommy said, keep me updated, okay? You most certainly will. I'll send you a private message in a little while, Tammy, if you would like some more updates on that too. So that's no problem at all. Thoughts on Bestward Lake Area 643 being restored at the Age of Steam Roundhouse. I'm really glad that one's getting restored. And Tammy says, okay, buddy, good night. Night, Tammy. Hope you guys are continuing to do well, and I'll send you guys a message in a little bit. The GS4 has always been running anyway, because I think I don't know if that one was completely restored, or I think UP did some work on that in 4014 was restored. But I'm really glad to see some of these steam engines make a return. And I'd like to add a comment about the 518 locomotive. Its max speed is 113 miles an hour. That's very fast. Yeah, because I'd love to see SEPTA again since my last time in 2018. Yeah, go for it, man. And favorite EMD locomotive you'd like to catch? SD40-2, GP38-2, GP40-2, and a lot of the older EMDs. I always like to get the older EMDs. Excuse me. But I love catching the older EMDs. And Andrew replied to Steve, have you ever seen one of their ACS 64s? I personally have not. To follow up with that, I have not. I hear they're really nice. Those are manufactured by Siemens. And as everyone knows, Siemens has manufactured the turbochargers. They also manufactured the ICE train. The ICE train was the Intercity Express. And that was tested by Amtrak in the early 90s for high-speed rail. I'd like to give a little bit of facts on this. They tested that one, and they also tested the Swedish X2000. They seemed to be okay, but the train did not tilt. So they went with the Acela that was designed by Bombardier. Bombardier Alstom is what it is now. And they designed it where the train, when the train enters a curve, the cars tilt with the train as much as 4 degrees, depending on the speed of the train and sharpness of the curve. The ICE train is very popular in Germany. They have ICE 1, ICE 2, and 3 sets. And they still have ICE 1 sets that are still roaming the rails in Germany, which I'm very happy with, because Deutsche Bahn, which is DB Rail, they actually did a rebuild program and they got those upgraded. And those are still roaming the rails, so that's awesome there. Very glad to see that Deutsche Bahn's keeping those things running. And that was one of the first high-speed trains that was ever successful, besides the TGV, which I believe was introduced in the late 60s, early 70s. I've caught so many SD40-2s. I know Bryce has, and I've seen more of them than Jivos. Yeah, because you live right there on that district where they use nothing but EMDs. And EMDs are the best stuff around. Thoughts on the Siemens SC44 charge that Amtrak has including Via Rail? I'm thinking it's okay. To me, it's not as tall as the Genesis. I like the fact where the crew is higher up in the cab rather than being lower in the cab. I just think the Genesis looks a lot better than that, but Siemens still did a pretty good job, but it looks good in Amtrak paint. I do have to say it does look good in Amtrak paint. SEPTA ACS 64, just when they were testing it before retiring the AEM 7s. The one in SEPTA actually looks very appealing. I don't know why, but it does. I know SEPTA's got some of those, and so those are kind of cool. And MBTA is rebuilding their F40s. They've rebuilt a bunch of those. I think they're F40PH-2Cs, I think. And those are roaming the rail still. And MBTA is going through an extensive program to get those rebuilt. And I know they've got some MP36s, and I'm not sure if they got any SC44s, but I know for a fact MBTA's got some MP36s as well. They got a nice fleet of locomotives. And Andrew says, Steve Case, I just tagged you on a SEPTA ACS in the chat. Okay. Which retired locomotive from, they want to bring on NS if you want me to ask this or not. It's okay. If it was a retired locomotive, I would not mind seeing the C39-8 again. I know some of you guys are probably saying, Pat, why are you saying that? Well, that is kind of a cool looking GE. It's a cool design. It looks pretty. It looked really good in Conrail paint. I have to agree. Conrail paint looked good in it. NS paint looked decent. It also looked good in CSX 1 and 2. But there's only one C39-8 that is still active, that is in existence. I believe it's up in the Northeast. It's number 8212. It's XNS 8212, and it was an X-Conrail as well. So if anybody can give a little bit more information on that, that would be appreciated. Ethan Conkin's rolling out. Hope you had a good rest of your birthday. Again, happy 27th birthday. Thanks, Ethan. Much appreciated, buddy. Very, very much appreciated. Did Southern have any C39-8s? No. Southern did not own those. That locomotive was introduced about 1985, 1986. It rolled out through the late 80s, I think, into the early 90s. From what I was told, the real ones, don't think they performed well. They were cool to look at, and they were called humpbacks because of the way the cab was designed, and it was really cool looking. Do you like to see CSX do a YN2 Heritage unit on a GEVO or no? They've got YN2 equipment. I would rather see the real deal, like an AC44 or an SD40-2 in YN2, GP38-2, or even a GP40-2 in YN2. I would prefer seeing it on an older EMD because that's the one. They're the ones that received it back in the 90s. That's my favorite CSX scheme is YN2. Yes, Steve, only NS and Conrail had the C39-8s. NS inherited some from Conrail, and NS also put in their own separate order. CSX inherited some from Conrail. CSX did not order any of those. And REG Rails has a response. Yes, Pat, 8212 is the only C39-8 running, and it is ran by the Pennsylvania Northeastern, still in Conrail Blue. Yes. Yes. And speaking of models on that, and for you N-scale modelers, Scale Trains is doing actually an N-scale model of that and also doing some C39-8s. So, funny thing that actually coincided there. And Steve says it's just like how SP and DRGW were the only owners of the SD40 T-2s and also the SD45 T-2s. Do you like to visit the Western Pacific Railroad Museum in Portola, California? I've looked at that before, but I haven't made the time yet. I have a few photos of 8212, still wanting to hear it run. Me too, because that is literally a dying class of GEs, because a lot of people forgot they existed. So, Richard Railway says, gotta run, have a great rest of your night, bro. Talk to you soon, buddy. Send me a message in a little while. And Trayman says, I think Inconbo had some SD40-2s. I'm guessing they did. And let me explain, hold on one second, how that happened. Cotton Belt was a subsidiary of the Southern Pacific. Oh, yeah, Steve, you are right. I'm sorry, because, Matt, I'll get to that comment in a second. Yes, because they just had the SD40-2s. They had SD45s, whereas Southern Pacific had the 45T, the 40T, and they had SD40s and 45s and 45Rs because they did have a huge rebuild huge rebuild program. Will do, Pat. Thinking about maybe running some trains, maybe send you some videos. Send them on, buddy. Send them on. To getting back to Cotton Belt was the, I think it was the St. Louis Southwestern, known as the Cotton Belt. They shared the same scheme as the Southern Pacific, but it was stamped a little bit differently because all their bicentennial units, Southern Pacific had a set, and they did the exact same set for Cotton Belt. It was literally the same paint scheme, but it just had Cotton Belt and SSW on the nose instead of SP on the nose and Southern Pacific. Later, Southern Pacific absorbed the assets of the company. And Southern Pacific officially took over in 1990. Thoughts on the Kodachrome locomotive scheme on the Southern Pacific and the Santa Fe locomotives? Not really a fan of that scheme, but I will tell you it is a bright paint scheme. It's not my personal favorite during that time. I mean, like Santa Fe Blue Bonnet's one of my favorites. BN Cascade Green. And of course, the Red Silver War Bonnet will always be one of my favorites. The Southern Railways paint scheme, always a classic. Southern Pacific's the red nose scheme. They call it the bloody red nose. I've always loved that scheme with the Roman numerals on there. Never was a fan of the speed lettering. I also like the Norfolk and Western Fishwick lettering, which is known as the block scheme. That scheme has always appealed to me. I don't know why, but yeah, that was kind of a unique period right there for both of those railroads. So that was a unique period, and Andrew, thanks for sending me the picture. And yeah, Rio Grande did not own any 45Ts. They had straight 45s. They had straight 45s. And so did Southern Pacific, because Southern Pacific rebuilt theirs, and they were classified as SD45Rs. I think they were rebuilt at the Sacramento shop, I think. But there's still some Southern Pacific out there as well, as far as the yards and shops and everything under Union Pacific. Then there's not much Southern Pacific left. I'm really sad about that, because I love Southern Pacific. They were bought by UP the year I was born, 1996. And that's why I love Southern Pacific, because if it's a 40T-2, I will look at it. If it is, what's that other locomotive they liked a lot of? SD40Rs, 45Rs, I'll look at their EMDs. They even had Jeep 60s. But like, even their AC44s, they looked good in Southern Pacific speed letter, but I always prefer the Roman numeral lettering. Thoughts on the Wigway crossing? That was a really cool signal back in the day. And of course, technology changed over time, but look at the different signals at the railroad museums. Definitely tell you a lot about American railroad history. Really good point there. Denver and Rio Grande, all EMD. Jeep 30s, they had Jeep 60s. I didn't know they had Jeep 60s. 40Ts, and I forgot they had some SD50s in there. And I believe they also had some GP 35s in there too. Love the GP 30s, I do too. Like the SD 38s, that's a locomotive that is not talked about anymore. This one here, that was actually a 6-axle yard switcher. That's what the EMD was designing, was because they were looking for a locomotive that was 6-axle that could do switching duties. And this was actually the ancestor of the SD40. It was the SD38 first. It was the straight 38. Then they had the SD38-2s. Yep, as well as GB4s and GB35s or DRGW. And Reading Rail says RBMN still has 3 SD38s and they still run. Oh, man. I know CN has some through EJ&E too. I know NS retired theirs. CN holds them and RBMN still holds theirs. So it's not very many of these locomotives left. Thoughts? All right, let's see. 2000, 2003, and 2004. Oh, wow. I'll have to definitely check them out. Thoughts on the SW1500? That was a really cool switcher. Everybody bought those. There was a bunch of SW1500s sold. Even the MP15 DC switchers and AC switchers. There was a bunch of switcher units being made, and those are cool locomotives. And Running Northern has 2 1500s, 1546 and 1548. And I know they're all EMD up there. So, yeah. So, keep on the questions, guys. This is really enjoyable. Steve says, thoughts on the being TEBC6 slug? Now, Steve, be a little bit more specific. Is that a GE slug or is this an EMD slug? Because I know they had both EMD and GE slugs. Now, the SW1000 that Rio Grande owns, that was a pretty cool locomotive. And even the SW1001 That's a locomotive that's not mentioned often. Used to have U-boats, CF7s, two SD-45s, and a lot more, but all retired. I understand that. There was a short line that's actually in my hometown that had a CF7. That has long been retired too. And a few more older GEs. Cool. And you see a lot more older EMDs and older GEs. So, happy birthday, man. Thanks, Willie. Appreciate it. Good to see you, man. And see, the EMD said they were rebuilt from SD9s. Okay. They look like a switcher locomotive, but with 6 axles. Oh, very cool. I forgot BN did all of that. Wow. I mean, BN is still talked about a whole lot, especially with Donner Pass, Mullen Pass, Stevens Pass, Cascade Pass, all of that. That's still widely talked about, and same with the Santa Fe. Favorite thing about the U25B? I don't know. I guess it was the cab design that looked kind of cool. Not very many of those are left. I think there might be one left, but it's not many. But there was a lot of customers for that locomotive. Now, there is a locomotive that some people forget existed, was the BQ23-7. And it was actually the first wide cab locomotive. The BQ23-7, I think they were all built for Seaboard. And unfortunately, all of those have been retired, but there was only 10 of them ever built. It was 10 ever built. And all of those have, I think, have sadly been retired. Now, BSF, the TEBC6s are really rare locomotives. I haven't seen one since my childhood years, which I understand. And Andrew says, I wonder if RBMM will get more EMDs. I am too. I have my mind on EMDs. And that's good. Yeah, the BQ23-7 from GE is pretty rare. It is. It was only 10 ever built. It was actually the first wide cab locomotive. This was before the Dash 9 and Dash 8 series. I mean, really the first, that was the experimental, but then when you had this, the B40-8 and the C40-8, then you had the B40-8W and the C40-8W. Those were built right around the same time. And then, of course, there was later the C40-9 with the pre-production Dash 9s on Dash 8 car bodies that CSX bought. Then you had Dash 9W, C40-9Ws, and then C44-9Ws, then ES44 DCs and ACs, and now the Tier 4. EMD. Yummy. Yes. And Finn Railfan 125, what's up? Happy birthday. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Very, very much appreciated. So, yeah, this is great. Let me go ahead and get a little snack. So, keep on asking the questions, guys. Keep it coming. The snack is in the house. Krispy Kreme. So Krispy Kreme is the snack of the night. And Matt says, I'm heading out for the night, man. Hope you had a nice birthday. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate you coming on tonight. Very, very much appreciated. And very, very appreciated. So, guys, we'll continue this for another little bit. It's 9:15 Eastern Time. So we'll continue this for another little bit. The attendance has been very good tonight. So let's go ahead and keep this going. Shh, thinking about EMDs at the moment. Me thinking donuts. Let me tell y'all something. Best donut right here. Krispy Kreme. Man. So good. Just absolutely good. Steve KC says, did you know that Amtrak and ATSF traded between the SDP-40Fs and CF7 as well as the other switcher locomotives? You know, I've always wondered that. And because Amtrak, I think, had a few CF7s, and the SD40PFs went into freight service, and Santa Fe utilized them very well. And I think they did really well in freight service. Want to share? I wish I could share with you through the screen. But, super donuts. But I tell you right now, they are extremely, extremely addictive. These things are so good. I could eat the whole box sitting down. But I'm not going to do that. So keep on, guys. We'll continue this for another little bit. So really glad to see all you guys are on tonight, and seeing what else you guys have in mind. Ask questions. We can talk more about locomotives. This has actually been really enjoyable. Happy birthday to you. Oh, he's saying me happy birthday. Thanks, bro. Appreciate it. Very, very much appreciated. So, man, birthday wishes on here as well as some fun train stuff. This is great. About the donuts you're having. I wish it was fall season so I could try the apple cider donuts again. Oh, apple cinnamon donuts, apple cider donuts are so good. They're so good. Here's the secret. Here's the secret. Have yourself a glass of 2% milk. Make sure it's cold. And make sure the donuts are right there in front of you. That is the perfect combination. Donuts. Hey, everybody loves donuts. Choo choo down the line, LOL. Yes, sirree, Bob. Randy Bowen, yes, sir. Hey, how's it going, man? And we did talk about CSX Heritage Units earlier. So, let me go put the box away so I won't eat the rest of the box. So, keep the questions coming, guys. I'm going to wash my hands so I can get the stickiness off. I'll be right back. All right. Steve asks, which BNAB unit is better, SD40-2B or the B30-7A? I'm going to have to say both of those look good, and even the Santa Fe GP60B. That looks really good. And, you know, that's some stuff that's not mentioned very often. That BN and Santa Fe did their own non-powered, actually they're powered B units, but they were cabless. And they were able to use that as a locomotive that the engineer did not have to control. So there was no cab on it. It provided the extra power to get up Cajon Pass, to Tehachapi Loop, Donner and Mullen Pass, Stevens Pass, all that. And I thought that was kind of cool. And those engines are not mentioned very often. Now, I'm not sure if there's many of them still in use, but they were really cool. Surrender the donuts, sir? Yeah. I put them over to the side so I can not have as much of that. So I had one earlier. So Tennessee Central buys former ATSF engines. Please be more specific on that, Mr. Bowman. I'd like to kind of know what you're talking about here. But yeah, I had to give up the donuts. Because let me tell you also, if you eat one, you eat the whole box. If you eat pretty much like, it's like cookies. One cookie, you'll eat the whole box. Unfortunately, BSF does not have the XBM B30-7As anymore. Now, do they have any of the SD40-2Bs still around? It feels like they've got a few left, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong, but gonna have to sneak on it to get the donuts. Yes, master plan. Hey, I understand. But yeah, I had to put the donuts over there on the side. But we'll continue this for some more, guys, as the questions continue to keep coming in. We've talked a lot about locomotives and stuff. I'm glad to see that. And get back to the railfan side if you want to and kind of mix this up a little bit. I love to see the mix on this, guys. Love seeing the mix. So we can definitely keep this going for another little while. It seems this like tonight's been really good, and we'll definitely rock on. BNSF still runs the GP60Bs and their SD40-2Bs. The SD40-2B is usually found at Galesburg Yard. Yes, that's the old BN yard. I think, isn't it the old BN yard, Steve? I think it's the old BN yard. Or is it the old Santa Fe yard? Or was that yard shared by both railroads? That's my question. But Galesburg's a really good spot for trains. La Plata is on the old Santa Fe. Want to try to get the donuts while Pat's asleep? Come on, man. Man, you two are just something else, is all I can say. So, but yeah, Galesburg is out there too, and plus Galesburg's on the BSF main, the old Santa Fe main that runs from Chicago to Los Angeles. That's the old Southern Transcon. So, but I tell you, there's a lot of Santa Fe locomotives still left, like a lot of Dash 9s, some B40-8Ws, and Blue Bonnets. Oh yeah, there's a lot of those still left. And there's even a lot of BN Max. So there's a whole bunch of those left. And BN owned the Galesburg yard. Now, did Santa Fe have a yard over there as well, Steve? It seems like they did. You probably know more about that than I do, but would be great. Galesburg is former CB&Q, Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy, and now absorbed into the BN. And everybody knows the Burlington Northern merger took place in 1970 between the Great Northern and the Chicago, Burlington, and Quincy. So that's when they joined together. And then, of course, BN and Santa Fe merged in 95. Joey Moore, what's up, my friend? Happy birthday, Engineer Pat 5290. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate it. Very, very much appreciated. Not sure the ATSF did at one point. They may have had an intermodal facility there, and I'm like, oh, it's Nicholas. Oh, wow, you're under your dad's account. Okay. I thought it was your pop for a minute, buddy. I'm sorry about that. You're good, man. You're good. Most of the XBN Max are either in storage or on coal runners. Yeah, because I believe BN bought those for cold storage because they didn't buy any newer GE. They just bought EMDs, and a bunch of those 70 Max are still running. BNSF rebuilt some, but man, some of the original Max are still running. Northern Pacific, CP&Q, Great Northern, and SPNS all merged to make BN. Okay. Because I know, I'm trying to remember how it all goes in together. I'm thinking, I'm wondering how, Steve, you may know this as well, but how do Northern Pacific and the SPNS fold into the BN merger? Because I know the Great Northern and the CB&Q were the main ones, but how did the other two fall in? Nicholas just asked, what'd you do today for your birthday? I kept it just as plain and simple. I stayed here. I was here at home. I spent time with family during the day. Then I went out to dinner with some of my best friends, and I came home. And I was running the N scale for a little bit when I came home. So I just kept it really nice and simple today. So, Steve says, not sure. I'll have to do some research. Send me a message in a little while, Steve. Whenever you find out something, I would greatly appreciate it. BM bought the Fort Worth and Denver in 1981. Now, were they a short line railroad or were they like a regional railroad? Because I've never heard of them. I do know some about the BNSF history, with some of the predecessors, some of the major ones. But SPNS has not been Seattle. It's Spokane, Portland, and Seattle or SPNS. They're not mentioned very often anymore. I think they were mostly EMD. But CB&Q, they were mostly EMD. I think they had some GE in there, but it wasn't much. I'm trying to think. Northern Pacific, they were a mix of both. I know that was the only Pacific Railroad that did not fold into Union Pacific, because Union Pacific got the Southern Pacific, the Western Pacific, the Missouri Pacific, the Katy Railroad, DRGW, and Southern Pacific. They were the ones that formed Union Pacific. But the only Pacific Railroad that did not fold into UP was Northern Pacific. CB&Q had some Gs like the U series. Okay, I figured it was the Universal series they had. SPNS 700 484 is near its restoration and will run under steam again. That's good. Where is that locomotive actually stored right now, or where they're doing the restoration? Because I would like to know. Would really like to know about that. So, that's great. That's great. Because I know the Santa Fe one, I think it was at the 3751, I think was restored too. Portland, Oregon, man, that's good. SoCal ESA Alerts, what's up, man? How's it going? Welcome. Very, very welcome. It's a new user on here, guys, so please welcome accordingly. Glad to see some new faces up here, guys. Thank you very much. I try my best to give rounds of applause to people who come in, and love seeing new users up here. So, guys, lay back and enjoy the fun. Do you like learning about the Chessie, the railroad kitten? Yes. Some people, I will collaborate on this a little bit. Chessie System was actually a holdings company. It was 3 railroads that formed Chessie System. It was the Baltimore, Ohio, the Chesapeake, Ohio, and the Western Maryland. All formed Chessie System. C&O was parent company. The Family Line System, or FLS, was also a holdings company because it was the Seaboard Coastline and the Louisville and Nashville. Seaboard Coastline was parent company. and both of those folded into CSX. And CSX was founded in 1980. So, yeah. Randy thinks the 4449 is important, but I love that steam locomotive. I love the 611, no question. I love N&W's Big Three. But out of the Western steams, I love the Santa Fe Southern, not the Santa Fe Southern, but the Santa Fe's 3751, the 4014, and the UP Challenger, which is the A44, and also the GS4. Nothing beats the GS4 out west. Cannon, what's up, man? I haven't seen you in a while. What's up, man? Been a hot minute. Man, lots of good fun tonight, guys. Keep this coming. This is great. And forgot to mention the Southern Pacific Cab 4 steam locomotives. Randy mentioned something that was pretty cool there. A lot of people forget that those existed. They had quite a number of those, and they used those on heavy freight trains, and those things could pull. But for Southern Pacific, like I said, my favorite paint scheme has to be the Roman numerals with the traditional Southern Pacific scheme. The Black Widow scheme is one of the most unique that they had because they actually put it on their passenger locomotives, which look really, really good. 1069 is getting repainted at this time. Thank you very much. That's awesome. Johnny's on. I figured you'd come on, buddy. Thank you very much for the birthday wishes. What's up? We're talking big trains tonight. So we talk more about the big trains, big restoration plans, stuff that's going on, things like that. Keep it coming, guys. Keep it coming. I'd be amazed if any of the two restored 484s from ATSF visited Kansas City. Oh, man, wouldn't that be good? That would be so good. And plus, Kansas City is old Santa Fe territory anyway. Gotta love the old Santa Fe on the old Santa Fe rails. You gotta love it. I love it. A Southern steamer will be restored, I see. Yes, Johnny, that is true. That is Southern Railway 722. That is getting ready to get restored. I am very glad about that. Amtrak fan 2115. Haven't seen you in a while. What's going on, man? Being restored to operate condition at the Great Smoky Mountains Railroad. Now, I have done this. And the time I went was pulled by 1702, which is an old U.S. Army steam locomotive. I think it was built in the early 1940s. I believe it served, I think, during the war. And it's a really cool steam locomotive, and I've got pictures of it, too. I would love to see N&W 1218 under its steam. Yes. Put that together with 611. That's the last ship of the year. Really and truly. If it ran under its own steam, I would love to see it. I would go out and just go get 100,000 pictures of that thing. Because I love N&W's Big Three. 611, 1218, and 2156. Bring on the N&W Hooter. Yes. Yes. States that there are not any coal-fired steam locomotives in California due to the state's ban on them. Ouch. But I tell you one thing, guys. Seeing steam locomotives in action is really good. 1218's whistle is beautiful. I have heard it before. Yes, I have heard it before. And it is very, very pretty. The GS4 whistle is really pretty. It's been a long time since I've heard it, but it's very pretty. I'm trying to think here. 3751's ATSF 6 times sounds beautiful too. I thought it was the 3751 that they restored, and I'm glad to see that because the Santa Fe had a lot of pretty steam locomotives. They had a lot of pretty steam engines, and they had a lot of pretty diesels as well. But their steam locomotives were really cool. I love the 484 Northerns. Is the 3751 a 484 Northern? Just curious. RDG Rail says, I would die to hear 1218's Hooter and hear it under steam. I would too. I got to hear 4014's was the ones. It's a loud one. Yeah, you can imagine how much air pressure that thing takes to build. Because that thing's huge. It was the largest steam locomotive ever built. And it could pull a train 5 miles long. And I believe they were built by Union Pacific. 3751 is a Northern built in 1927 and is the oldest surviving 484. That's awesome. It's nearing 100 years old. But let me tell you something. She's still earning her keep too. And I'm glad to see that BNSF employees restored that locomotive and got it running again. I'm really glad of that. And I'm glad to see it still roaming its own rails. So, as they always say, never underestimate a locomotive. You know, you can think something's brand new, but when you look into it, it's almost 100 years old, for example, like the 3751. It's the stories that locomotive can tell if it could talk. And so with all the other EMDs and everything, but the stories these locomotives can tell. The Big Boy and the Challenger were made by Alco, not UP. Okay, I wasn't sure if the Big Boy was built by Alco or if UP designed it. I wasn't sure, and I appreciate the clarification. 1218's Whistle was in a movie in 91. Can you tell me what movie that is, please? But I thought UP designed their own steam engines, but I know N&W did and Penske did. Southern might have designed a few, but mostly those were bought by American Locomotive Company. Of course, the Crescent, the 1401, is the last surviving of its class, and that's been preserved, I believe, at the Smithsonian. And now that's a beautiful locomotive. So, Pearl Marquis 1225 is going to be hitting the movies again. That's good. I'm glad to see Pearl Marquis 1225 is running too. I think Pearl Marquis, I believe, folded into BNSF. I think they were on the BN side. If anyone can confirm about Pearl... No, wait a minute. No, hold on. They were under... I think they fell under CSX. That's what my brain just tells me. I think they fell under CSX. If anyone can confirm that, let me know. CP Casey's prepping CP 464-2816 for her trip from Alberta to Mexico City. That's going to be good. I'm glad to see that one's still running. So, really glad to see a lot of these steam engines being restored. They're saving them. And I think it's great. Brian J is on. What's up? Happy birthday, buddy. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. Very, very much appreciated. Talking about the big train. So come on in and join the fun. So, I do believe the Pyramid was under CSX side of things. That's what my brain was telling me there. Pearl Marquis was fell under CSX. I wonder who absorbed Pearl Marquis. If anyone knows who absorbed that railroad, let me know. Because I want to say it was under, not Conrail. It might have been under Seaboard or it was ACL or somebody like that. Now, another railroad on the CSX side that's not mentioned is the Georgia. And it became part of the, somebody says the B&O and Prairie became part of the C&O in the late 40s. Okay, so they've been long gone. 1225 and 765 ran on the CSX or on CSX in the 90s, I think. Very cool. I know Nickel Plate 765 is running too. And glad to see that one is running. And yeah. So, I forgot Pearl Marquis was part of CSX there for a minute. Because Pearl Marquis is not mentioned very often. It's barely mentioned anymore. I don't know why, but it's not mentioned anymore. The Georgia Railroad is not mentioned often either. I think they were a really small company. And sometimes they come back Randy, I don't understand your comment. Please be more specific. Oh, sometime they come back movie. Okay. All right, I know what you're talking about now. It took me a second. But the Georgia Railroad, I know a little bit about it because I know there's been some CSX Jeeps that are ex-Georgia Railroad. I think there's like one or two of them. Now, the Richmond, Fredericksburg, and Potomac Railroad, talk about the RF&P. The RF&P is not mentioned often anymore. They were all EMD, and they were a small regional railroad that ran from Richmond, Virginia, to our nation's capital. And they were the middleman, and they actually interchanged with everybody. Norfolk and Western, they interchanged with the Southern, the Seaboard Airline, they interchanged with the Atlantic Coastline as well. They interchanged with the Pennsy, and later was under Penn Central and then Conrail. And they later interchanged with Seaboard Coastline, Seaboard System as well. So they interchanged with a lot of railroads. And they had two major yards, Acca Yard and Potomac Yard. Potomac Yard was closed about 1992, 1993. And that has long been gone. That site was developed. And the Acca Yard is still utilized by CSX. And they kept that yard in the CSX takeover, and they did a lot of work to the yard once CSX got a hold of the yard. But the RF&P Road is not mentioned, and even the Pittsburgh and Lake Erie, as Randy mentions, they're barely mentioned either. Another one is the Guilford Railroad, which was formed by Boston and Maine, Maine Central, and Springfield Terminal. They formed Guilford Railroad in the 70s, and in 2006 it was changed to Pan Am Railways. Now CSX absorbed them in 2020. See, Pan Am was all EMD. Guilford was all EMD. Wheeling and Lake Erie, the WLE. A lot of nice EMDs, including a few original Rio Grandes that still have DRGW. They are a really cool railroad. They even got some high hoods in there, I think. But they are all EMD. They are all EMD. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful EMD power over there. And the North Shore Railroad. They're a small company out of Pennsylvania, but that's actually a really cool locomotive. Really cool locomotives there. Excuse me. Correct, they have high hoods, yes. I think they just have a small handful. So, but this has been great, guys. We'll continue this for a little bit. It's about 9:45 Eastern Time, so we will continue this here for another little bit. Because I know Guilford had some high hoods too. I think they had some high hood GP40s that were ex-Norfolk and Western. A few GP35 high hoods on the fleet. Man, I didn't even know there was a few of those left. Wow. And Detroit, Toledo, and Ironton, all EMD. Grand Trunk Western, all EMD. The Central Vermont, later absorbed by GTW, they were all EMD. Wisconsin Central, all EMD. Illinois Central, all EMD. Trying to think. Bestford, Lake Erie, DMIR, all of those were straight EMD. They were all straight EMD. I'm trying to think for CN. My local BNSF track near Los Angeles regularly has trains with only NS power running under the BNSF symbol. And he lists it QNYCLAC. Very cool. What they probably just do is they just interchange right there. They just keep the power the same and use it. So, always cool to see trains with foreign visitors, in my opinion. But it's cool. Definitely really cool. But that shocks me. A few GP35 high hoods left on the roster. are they ex-Norfolk and Western, or are they actually ex-Southern? Because both of those railroads had high hood 35s. So I was just curious. So I apologize if I'm getting sleepy. This has been a really long day, and plus, um, it's been a really exciting day for me, and uh, I'll be ready to crash and hit the bed here in just a bit. So yeah. So it's 9:47 Eastern time. We'll continue this for about another 10 minutes or so and kind of wrap things up for the night. I sent you a photo. Thanks. I'll look at that in a little bit, but I'll respond to that in a little bit. So, anybody who has any last minute questions, they're welcome to ask, so we can go and have a little bit more fun. So, I'm glad to see that you guys are really taking interest in this. I haven't done too many of these streams with the 21st Century Railfan Fund, but I'm glad to see that you guys would like to talk about different things with Railfan, different locomotives, different railroads. I think it's a cool topic, and even some of the different locomotives that you see out there, which is wonderful. RNG Rails is signing off for the night. Happy birthday, Pat. Thank you so much. I'll message you soon, buddy. Thanks for tuning in. And so we'll definitely catch you again next time, Andrew. Thank you so much. So, while things are kind of at a little bit of a standstill here, I do have this, obviously, I've been working with. I've been also working on some other projects as well. To shift a little bit on some announcements. I'll announce those in a second. I'll give you the GB35 high hoods on the fleet on the past for you if you want. Yes, please do. Jeffrey Tamsel, what's going on, man? Hope your birthday was great, Pat. Thank you. It was great. It was actually nice, and I was actually able to spend some time with family this morning and had some fun. And went out to dinner with some of my best friends and came home and called it a day. I kept it really simple this year. I really kept it simple this year. So, and sometimes running things simple is not bad. And I ran my N scale stuff when I came home. So I'm really happy about that. Really, really happy about that. So it's been great. We've been talking a lot about the big trains tonight and talking about the different railroads. And I think it's really cool that a lot of you guys know about this stuff and you can be able to research a little bit. Like, let's say if I asked a question and a lot of you guys were able to pitch in with answers, and I think that's great. So if you've got regular questions with the big trains in this stream, you're welcome to ask, guys. This is great. Sounds like it was good. Yes, it was good, and it was just low-key this year, and that's kind of what I wanted. I was kind of floating for maybe something different, but then I said, you know, sometimes when a plan works, you just go for it. And you just kind of stick with that plan because you just never know. You just never know when, you know, some of this will work out again. And I just stuck with the same plans I had last year. Make it simple. And sometimes making something simple is okay. Sometimes you don't have to go with all the fancy stuff. Sometimes you can just go out with some of your best friends, spend a few hours, and then go home. And I try my best to just keep it simple. I just keep it simple. And sometimes simple is good. And plus, you can kind of do what you want a little bit, but at the same time, you think to yourself, I'm just blessed to be able to do it. So, a few model railroad announcements I will give as we kind of wind down the stream a little bit. As you all have seen in one of my recent videos, 726 has returned after some overhauling. We were able to get that engine rocking and rolling again. We think. That's been running. I've been running the trains a little bit on the O scale stuff, which has been fine. Trying to think of something else. N scale stuff hasn't been too much. Just been mostly running that around, but I'm sure there's going to be more of that work coming up soon. Excuse me. Hopefully now at this point it's going to be some more vehicles and trying to dress it up a little bit more and work on the camp scene that I'm working on too. So that's something that I'm really looking forward to. And I have been looking at some scale train stuff. I did pre-order something, and I think Johnny and I actually did this together today. We both pre-ordered something, and we're not going to mention what we pre-ordered. So that's why I'm kind of talking like this a little bit. So that will come in a few months, hopefully, and that's something I've been really looking for in N-Scale. So that's something that we've looked at. So I've looked at scale trains. I've received some feedback from Johnny JJ3M Railfanner as well as Steve Casey Railfan. I would like to thank both of them for their inputs. I did get to see a scale trains engine in action one day when I went to see Johnny, and it ran pretty well. And Steve was able to talk with me about how the system works over there, and was very, very thorough on that. So it's a good site over there. So they make good stuff. They make good stuff, and I've been bound to try scale trains for a while now. So their detail is really good. Their drives are pretty good. I prefer for the drives on a little model train stuff. I'm going to say right quick, I prefer Kato and Atlas for the drives. I'm going to have to say scale trains would be number 3 after what Johnny showed me. Steve does the HO stuff from them and said they pull pretty nice. My next drive for N-Scale is Lifelike. Lifelike had a really decent drive. I believe they were absorbed by Walters some time ago. But Bachman has a decent drive now too, so might want to look into some of that N-Scale stuff too. But I prefer Kato, Athern, Atlas, and now scale trains for what I've seen. So, yeah. But it's coming up 9:55 Eastern time. I will take a few more questions on the model, not the model railroad stuff, but the big train stuff. I'm used to thinking model railroad Mondays because I do it all the time. But yes, if you've got a few more questions, I'm glad to take them. And then we'll definitely be doing one of these again. We will definitely be doing one of these again. So be on the lookout for more 21st Century Railfan fun. This stream has been very popular tonight, so thank you guys for tuning in. This is something I will try to do more regularly, but just depends on my time and everything. So it's been kind of busy. Oh, Steve's back. All right, no worries. And Steve, I did mention to say thank you for the help with scale train stuff. I really do appreciate it because Johnny and Steve helped me get this together, and I was actually able to pre-order something from scale trains. And Johnny and I actually did this today, so this was kind of cool. And train derailed in Madison, Missouri. Yes, I heard about that too. I heard it was kind of bad. I did get some pictures of that through a couple of friends of mine, and it looked really bad. So, yeah, I hate when accidents happen, but you always say prayers to the ones who were involved, because moments like that, guys, really do change lives. When you see something or when you experience something, it will change your life. It changes your life, and You definitely learn a lot of stuff from that, and it really puts you in a real life perspective of what could happen. Sucks to hear about training your derailment on your birthday, Pat. Yeah, it's bad any day for any derailment to happen, but it happens. It really does happen, and it's sad. Uh, it comes to show you that anything can happen at the blink of an eye. Real life happens in the blink of an eye. So whenever you guys are out doing rail fanning and having fun with that or anything, just remember, real life happens at the blink of an eye. Accidents happen at the blink of an eye. From a very simple fender bender to a very catastrophic accident. So any sort of accident can happen to any of us. And we learn to be careful in what we do, and we try to do our best to stay safe. And Johnny's out. Have a good night, buddy, and I'll send you a message tomorrow. So have a good night, buddy. Thanks for tuning in for a little bit. So it is 9:57. We're getting ready to go ahead and end it up here. I would like to say thank you all for tuning in tonight. Very much appreciated. Very much appreciative of the birthday wishes. And glad I could. Thanks, buddy. Much appreciated and much more. And I'm very appreciative of everybody who's tuned in tonight and for everything that I have done. Thank you guys very much. Your support means the world, not only to me, but for the future of this channel. And Steve says, I remember one train wreck happened on my birthday. CSX were a Jeep and an AC6000 had a small head-on crash. Forgot the year. You just never know what will happen between right now and the next day, because a whole lot can happen. So treasure every moment, guys. Treasure every moment and make the best use out of every day. So, like I said, thank you all for tuning in tonight. Very much appreciated. We're going to go ahead and end it here. As always, smash the like button, drop a comment down below, hit that subscribe button, and remember to tap the notification bell for, all the latest updates, and hopefully I'll be doing some more running sessions soon. So anyway, guys, with that, I will say good night. Be safe out there, and I will see you guys down the main. Take care, you guys, and may God bless.